Also breaking tonight, 4 subpoenas have been issued to IRS and FBI investigators involved in the Hunter Biden probe. Here now to explain, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, along with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. Both, by the way, are responsible for the subpoenas. Jim Jordan, before I get to that, Plan A, no charges. Yeah. Plan B, sweetheart deal that a judge blew up to the shock of everybody. That Weiss worked side by side with Hunter's brother, Beau Biden, Joe's son. Politico, Hunter's lawyers threatened the White House. Joe's going to have to testify. And then Hunter's lawyers demanding the DOJ prosecute the whistleblowers. I'm betting you have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, the idea that Joe Biden's going to testify is ridiculous. Can you imagine putting Joe Biden on the stand right now and him facing cross-examination? I mean, there is no way that's going to happen, but this was the pressure campaign they were putting on the DOJ. And John Solomon's exactly right. But for these whistleblowers, that sweetheart deal would have been even sweeter. They weren't even going to require Hunter Biden plead guilty to anything. This is how bad this was. And what we want to do, Sean, is we want to talk to the folks who were in the meeting. These whistleblowers come forward. They change history, as John Solomon just pointed out. What prompted them to come forward? This meeting, October 7th, 2022. You got David Weiss, you got Gary Shapley, the whistleblower, and 4 other people in that meeting. We want to talk to those 4 other people because that's the meeting that Gary Shapley said that was the red line meeting. When I decided there was no way this investigation was going to do the right thing, we had to come forward and talk to Jason Smith, Chairman Smith's team at the Ways and Means Committee, and then they came forward and their testimony, unlike the White House's story, unlike the DOJ, their testimony has stood up and they've appeared entirely credible throughout this ordeal.
Jason Smith, these whistleblowers spoke to your committee, the House Ways and Means Committee. What's your reaction to Hunter's lawyers demanding that the DOJ prosecute those whistleblowers, especially after listening to Joe Biden praising whistleblowers, but that was the hearsay whistleblower that was against Donald Trump?
One thing about it, Sean, when these IRS whistleblowers came before the House Ways and Means Committee, their stories has completely stayed the same. But the information that they released was shocking to members of Congress, and it was shocking to the American public. But Sean, you know who was not shocked about their information was the Department of Justice. Because in fact, the Department of Justice, just as the whistleblowers highlighted, they used numerous tactics that delayed the investigation to such a degree that the statute of limitations expired for some of the most egregious crimes of 2014 and 15 tax years. They denied prosecution, which is why we want to know about this October 7th meeting and why we've subpoenaed more individuals to answer our questions. And they divulged information to Hunter Biden's lawyers. If the whistleblowers wouldn't have came forward, we wouldn't have known those aspects. And they definitely changed history.
All right, Jim Jordan, I want you to talk about the subpoenas that your committee, the Judiciary and the Ways and Means Committee, to the IRS and to the FBI from today. And do you think something's going on here with the New York Times, Politico, the Washington Post, and even Chucky Todd and left-wingers like him are now saying he's got a big problem? What does that tell you?
Yeah, they see the evidence piling up. They see the credibility of these whistleblowers, and they see what was reported this week. You know, the story in Politico, the story in the New York Times. I thought there was all kinds of interesting things in there. Decided they were going to make Biden testify, that they wanted to go after the whistleblowers. But what really struck me, and it ties into what John was just saying, is that in 2019, Hunter Biden's legal team wanted to meet with him to talk about things. And he said, I can't meet that day because I'm talking with the impeachment lawyers. So is he talking with Daniel Goldman, the lawyer for Adam Schiff? Is he talking with that? Who's he talking to? Because it was all about Burisma. As John pointed out, they said one thing, the Biden team said one thing, the Democrats said one thing, but the documents show something else. They show that President Trump was on the right track. So that is definitely an avenue that we're going to explore as well in our investigation. But right now it's the focus on that meeting, that red line meeting, according to whistleblower Shapley, where he said David Weiss told them he didn't have the authority that Merrick Garland and David Weiss were saying they had, and that's when he knew we have to go to Congress. We have to become whistleblowers. We have to tell the story so the American people get the truth about how wrong this investigation was being handled.
Jason, last word.
I I would absolutely agree. You look at what the activity of Hunter Biden's lawyers were. They're the same people who told the Department of Justice prosecutors that if they bring charges against Hunter Biden, they'd be facing career suicide. And now they're threatening the president coming and testifying. It's outrageous.
All right, thank you both. The walls are closing in on this entire big lie that Joe said as a candidate, repeated as president. And we'll get to the bottom of it. Thank you both.